On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we celebrate Chuckmas! Oh, it's that time of year. Once again, we're going to be talking about the album Human by Death. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this very special episode of the Bronze Medalist podcast. It's finally Chuckmas.
Chuck bless us, everyone.
And that means we're going to talk about an album by the wonderful death metal band Death. And that's literally the only thing different about this episode than any other episode. I don't know why I said it was going to be a special episode.
Still special.
It's special to us.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because we like Death.
We do. And we love the band as well.
Yeah. And a little Chuckmas miracle has been performed.
I see that. A gift. A gift has been bestowed upon me.
There is a Chuckmas gift
by the late Chuck Schuldiner.
It says to OJ from Chuck.
Joy.
And it's this tall rectangular box that's, it's square on either end. And
Here. I'm going to take a picture of this for social media.
Okay, there you go.
So we can put this in our Twitter because we're so Twitter heavy.
Yeah, there we go.
Hold on. I don't even know how I use my camera on this damn thing. Okay, here we go. To OJ from Chuck.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He brought it to us from beyond the grave.
Would he want me to open it now?
Yeah, I think Chuck would want. It's Chuckmas.
It is Chuck.
It's the time when you open your Chuckmas present.
It's already looking elegant. No shit.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Chuck got you a bottle of Glenlivet.
Chuck may have spent a little too much on me. Chuck may think I'm a little too special.
Chuck didn't spend that much money.
It's Glenlivet 12.
There's Glenlivets that are more expensive than 12.
True. I usually get the Glenlivet 6 months.
Yeah.
That's the one
a 6-month-old scotch. That's like medical grade whiskey. It has had no time to take on any sort of flavor.
Strictly for medicinal purposes.
That is for cleaning countertops. Because it has no taste.
It's a barley malt scotch.
That is the bland, Did
you say barley malt? No.
It's 20 times more bland than the blandest Canadian whiskey. It's nothing to it.
Wow. George Smith even signed it.
Wow. I mean, that's not actually his signature. It's like
this is from 1824? Wow, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was made in 1824.
This is awesome.
There was 3 drops left in the barrel. There's only 3 drops hadn't been evaporated out into
they put it into this bottle of Glenlivet. Well, thank you, Chuck.
That's what happens eventually. That's why you don't see 70-year-old whiskeys, is because if you leave it in the barrel for that long, it will eventually, all the water will eventually evaporate out of it, and it's
barrels are not perfect seals.
Yeah, and you're going to be left with something that's much higher proof and probably tastes a lot worse.
Yeah, because there's a curve. There's a curve to it. I mean, you got your maybe 100-year-old Scotch.
Yeah,
it's possible, I guess, but
it's possible.
Anything well into the next century, you're starting to look at something that's kind of spoiled. I think.
Yeah. Well, and it also depends on the type of barrel you put it in, too.
Sure.
What's the wood made out of? Mm-hmm. What was previously in the barrel? Because that's something a lot of whiskey companies do, is they used barrels.
Mm-hmm. It's really, what I really love is when a whiskey company will sell their barrels to beer companies, and then you get that whiskey aged beer,
cask aged beer, or whatever it is.
It's so good.
It's good. Also very strong.
Yeah,
I think you brought a cask ale at one point here, and that got me fucked up. I think, it was incredibly strong. Tonight we have Higher Plane IPA, which is is it called Higher Plane because it has well, that's a hop there. That's not.
Yeah.
Well, because you can get stuff that's made with hemp or some shit.
You can get like the Hemperor.
Yeah, Hemperor. That's what it is.
I love the Hemperor.
I think I've brought Hemperor before.
Did we have that during our
episode we were talking about sleep?
Sleep, yeah.
We might have.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I'm surprised you don't see. Maybe I have seen it and I just haven't gotten it. But you don't see beer with like CBD in it and shit around here. Sure. I know they sell it. I know for a fact they sell it because it's like CBD is there's no restrictions on it whatsoever, so you can put it in fucking anything.
Because it probably doesn't really do anything.
Probably. Maybe the jury's out. I haven't tried it myself.
Well, it's one of those things. I feel like there's a whole lot of psychology that goes into it. Like I feel better after having taken the CBD.
Yeah. There's some placebo to it, and probably part of the placebo is, this is a thing that's extracted from like weed. So obviously it must do something.
Oh man, I'm feeling hungry and sleepy. I better eat all these snacks and take a nap. Actually, you probably would have done that anyway.
You would have ate all those Cheetos anyway. But don't fool yourself or anyone else.
Yeah.
I haven't given it a try. Some people say they, feel a little bit better. Some people say they feel exactly the same. So I don't know.
I know the other ingredient in marijuana.
That definitely does something.
Yeah, that's not a placebo effect.
That has a proven effect.
Right.
On
exactly.
So, yeah. How's your week been?
It's been fantastic. I mean, I'm filling in for Jeff, so I'm going in
early in the morning.
And
nice shanty.
Yeah. And it's been cool because I don't know if
you actually get to leave your house for a little while.
I leave my house and I get to go be alone. I mean, okay, once again, my caveat here is I love my family.
Everybody it doesn't matter how much you love your family. Everybody needs time away from their family. Everybody does.
Everybody needs just a little bit of time away. Okay,
for sure. And that's something that you've been deprived of for about a month at this point.
Well, sure, because I'm working at home. I get up and I go upstairs. During the day I go upstairs, but I'll go and my wife's home for lunch. Yay! I'm glad she's home for lunch. We'll eat lunch together, and then I got to go back down and go back to work. And
yes, go back into the work cave.
The work cave,
known as the basement.
Yes. Then I come upstairs to leave and pick up my kids.
And then I suppose if there's not a whole lot to do, like you generally are probably done fairly early in the day, right?
Yeah, well, okay. I have been getting done at 9:30 a.m. Done with all my...
When you're working from home regular.
Working from home. Right, when I'm working from home regular. And actually, I'm getting done everything but the news fairly the same.
Yeah.
While I'm working at the studio, because there's nobody else... is there. That's the only hindrance to my progress because I get there. I love the guy. He's great. But
you want to do stuff and then you have a chat.
Yeah. Hey, OJ, I brought in this guitar I bought from Hawaii. Okay. I'm genuinely interested.
You get him started talking about guitars. Yeah. It will be a while. I remember the first summer I worked there, he brought in a 12 string he had just bought. And
he sold that this week.
Oh, this week. Wow.
Yeah, he shipped it off. He brought it in. That's the guitar you show you want. Come and look at this. 12 string. So, oh, neat. He said, I suck at this. I cannot fucking play a 12 string to save my ass.
I think that, and he was complaining last time I mentioned it to him. He was complaining that it's just too much work keeping everything in tune.
Yeah.
It's too much work to keep 12 strings because they're courses of strings as well.
They are.
They're it's two paired strings that basically you can tune them differently, but they're, kind of.
It depends on some of our octaves. Some of our.
But generally it's kind of like it's a 6-string guitar, but with each string split into 2.
Yeah. Like a harmony or an octave.
You can do all kinds of shit with it.
You can. I have a friend of mine who's in a metal band who only plays an electric 12 string.
That's what, it depends on the album and there's, 40 of them at this point, but that's what Stu McKenzie does in King Giz.
Oh, really? Yeah.
For some of their material. Other times he plays the titular flying microtonal banana.
Sure.
But yeah, there are certain songs where he plays an electric 12 string because they're
Why not?
King Giz is, I think, the nerdiest band in the world, maybe.
That reminds me, there was a thing that happened on Twitter this week where it was somebody said, hey, name a band, but replace all the vowels in the band with just O's.
Kong,
Gazord, and the Lazord Wazord.
Wow.
That's what they actually said.
Kong, Gazord, and the Lazord Wazord.
That was actually somebody's response in there.
That better be the title of their next album.
That would be awesome.
Oh God,
it was funny how all the names were hilarious.
I mean, yeah, Kong, Dumond, Kong Dumond, Dooth,
Moguduth,
Conobol, Corpso. Oh my God. It's cheap laughs, but hey, they're good laughs. It's so fucking silly.
Sloyor.
That shouldn't be funny.
But it is somehow.
It shouldn't be funny.
Panopticone.
Well, no, it's panoptocone.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I can't stop. I'm just trying to think of more bands, but I'm struggling.
Jodo's Prost. Proust. That should actually be Proust.
Yeah.
Because P-R-O-O would be.
See, it could just be if there was only the one vowel, then it could be Prost.
Prost.
With beer.
Sure.
I think there's a new episode of The Expanse out today.
Oh, today? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Because the last one, oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
And then it was funny. What happened at the end of the last episode? I'm going, oh my fucking God, how is this going to resolve? And it was like, watch this next episode of this other thing that you were watching. Yeah. No, I want to watch more of the.
I do I hate the fact that some people have been going on certain websites and trashing The Expanse because of the weekly release schedule.
I love that.
The same thing happened with The Boys, where there are people who just want to binge and decide the best way to send their message to Amazon or whomever is to give the show bad reviews. I think that's the wrong way of going about it. That's terrible. Fucking stupid.
I fucking love that. That makes me happy. Wait a minute, no, December 30th they said the new one was going to be out.
December 30th? Yeah. It should be today because they released a new episode of the podcast where Ty Frank and the actor for Amos, whose name I can't remember.
What's it?
Wes Chatham.
Yeah, Wes Chatham.
They released a new episode of the podcast talking about episode 4. So I believe it's out.
Because I saw on what it said on there when I looked at the next one, December 30th. Maybe they released it earlier, but
maybe, who knows? But in any case, holy shit, the new season of The Expanse is really, 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 really fucking good so far. It is. Holy shit! Oh my God, it is amazing. And God, I fucking love this show.
And they're really, really beefing up Amos in this.
Oh yeah, well I mean the meat's always been on them bones.
Sure,
it's just this is the point.
He's beefing up his story.
Yeah. This is that's what they're doing for everybody too. They're Alex is back visiting his family. He's back on Mars.
Not having a good time of it
with his family. And the only person who's not going home this season is Jim. Jim's the only person still out doing the typical Rocinante thing.
Sure.
Because I mean, he already went home briefly last season, and he's had that
saw
sort
all 8 of his moms and dads. Or whatever.
Yeah. I think he only saw the one actually, or no, there was a video thing with all of them, if I remember correctly. But that's a whole story. Like Jim Holden's parentage is interesting. This idea in the future that a group of people, in order to hold on to land rights, decided to all collectively have a child together because it's the future, and you can do that where you can combine all your DNA. And that's also like people do that. I remember reading in the Expanse RPG, people will do that just collectively because on Earth it's expensive. You have to have a license to have a kid,
which
because there's like at that point like 14 billion people on Earth, or even more than that.
Which is way more than the Earth should have.
Yeah. I think it's actually in the RPG book I have, I think it was stated at like 35 billion or some shit. And it only works because there's also all kinds of colonies and whatnot. But
sure. But I've heard it said that at 10 billion, we've gone past the breaking point.
Yeah. Well, it sort of depends. Because there's the Malthusian scenario, which is the idea of unrestricted population growth that also does not take into account at all the way human populations tend to move as countries develop. It just says this is what's going to happen. This is how humans reproduce, and that's not really how it works. And there's also a fuckload of unused land right now. Even now, there's so much unused land.
There's a lot of land that's unusable too.
Yeah, that is true. And also, as far as like food supplies go, the problem is not how much can we produce from the land we have. The problem is how can we get the food we have produced to the people who need it.
Sure.
So I think 35 billion is fucking untenable, but 10 billion I think we can do.
Maybe. Who knows?
I'll probably see that before I die.
I won't.
Who knows? But in any case, new season of The Expanse, super good stuff. And I was watching the first episode of the podcast that they're doing, and Ty Frank and Wes Chatham were talking about how when Ty and Daniel were envisioning this series of books, when they decided, like, you know what, we want to do a whole series of books about this concept. Book 5 is what everything is going to hinge around.
In this series.
Yeah, book 5 is the center point of the series, and this is the point where, like, okay, we've established who all of our main characters are. This is who they are. This is how you've seen them act and do things. Now you get to see parts of what made them who they are.
Which is what we're doing now.
Yes, and so that's what they're doing with Amos. That's what they're doing with Alex, and that's what they're doing with Naomi, because Naomi's got... Oh my goodness. Bobby. Yeah. And Bobby too. Yeah. Bobby's was more last season.
Yeah. I mean, but they're really, she's a big part of this season.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. And I don't think Bobby continued to be a very big part of the books after book 3. It's just they've kept her storyline going in the shows because people like her so much.
Sure.
And because what's her name? I can't remember the actress's name.
I can't either.
Anyway, she's incredibly charming. So
she's very charming.
So it's like, let's keep this storyline going because she's a fan favorite character.
Right. I'm trying to think of what Upsaralla's doing at this point.
She's trying to hold shit together on the moon. Right. Basically, she's.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, if you have not watched The Expanse, heavily recommend it. I will admit the first half of season 1 is a bit slow.
It's very slow, but it's not bad slow.
It's a good slow burn.
Yeah, it's one of those where I had to, me being in my late 40s, I had to watch it with subtitles on. Yeah, because it's one of those where the sound is either
not very well mixed.
People are talking like this and they're doing that, and then the next moment there's a goddamn explosion or a series of them going on. Yes, so I don't know where to keep my TV.
Fucking every scene with Thomas Jane is just him going like, "All right, we're gonna go down in here, and we're gonna do that thing," and then
right.
It's like, God, I miss Thomas Jane too.
Yeah, Miller was great.
Miller is fucking great. He directed episode 3.
Did you really?
Yeah, Thomas Jane directed episode 3.
Even after he was dead, he was great.
Yeah, because spoilers, he continues being a character.
Yeah.
But God, yeah, fantastic show. Speaking of futuristic stuff, I've been playing more Cyberpunk.
I've heard it's good. I've heard there's a lot of bugs, but
it's growing on me.
Yeah.
I mentioned last time we recorded that I was not entirely sure it was my sort of game, and I think I'm liking it more and more the more I play it.
Yeah,
combat is still a little bit frustrating, but now that I've passed the prologue, because it's a fairly long prologue that you can sort of make as long as you want, and I think part of the prologue is really weirdly designed, where they throw this really big fight at you that you are almost certainly not at all prepared for, in the sense that your character's probably very underleveled. and just not very powerful. And so I went into that fight and it was just a complete nightmare. Also, because you're in the middle of this enemy facility that's full of cameras and enemies can jack into the cameras and then hack you through the cameras, or they can just hack you from where they're sitting. And so here's me constantly getting my cybernetics overheated over and over and over again because I've been hacked in the middle of combat. Whereas since then, since the prologue finished, I've been in combat a bunch of times, and like never have I really been in such dire straits where like every 10 seconds I was getting hacked. And when you get hacked, you can stop it by killing the person that has hacked you.
But you got to find them.
You got to find them.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're like, once they've hacked you, they hide behind a wall and you can't see where the fuck they are. So that was really annoying. But like, I think The Witcher 3 didn't have quite as much. I think the combat in The Witcher 3 was a bit more streamlined and a bit less frustrating. It had its moments, but I do think that the story so far and the RPG elements and maybe not the mechanics, I guess, but what you expect from a story-based game that is an RPG, the quest. The quest lines and the missions that I've been sent on are pretty enthralling. And also the introduction, the end of the prologue is the introduction of the character played by Keanu Reeves, whose name is Johnny Silverhand. Whoa. For anybody who's planning on playing Cyberpunk, I won't spoil necessarily what his whole deal is, but
does he have a silver hand?
He does have a silver hand. So in fact, a whole arm is silver.
So why is he just silver hand then?
It's just, I don't know.
Does he ever have to go up against Ferrus Manus?
From fucking, I'm surprised you remembered that from Warhammer.
Why would I forget that?
Yeah,
the Iron Hand, they're called Ferrus Manus. They have Iron Hands.
His name is Iron Hands. He has iron hands, and he's the leader of some Space Marines who call themselves the Iron Hands.
Yeah.
Because Games Workshop does not do subtlety.
Right. It was like my mom asking me one time. Remember when I was a kid and I even got this? I said that a lot. Even when I was a kid, I got this.
Even when I was a kid,
my mom says, I can't remember which one it is. The umbrella or the parasol? Umbrellas for which one's for sun and which one's for rain? And I said, Mom, one of them's literally called the parasol.
One of them has sun in the word.
One of them is literally for sun is what it's called.
Yeah. I've always had a very good head for Latin roots.
Yeah.
I think not so much for Greek root words, but for Latin root words.
I've had some more for Latin, but a little bit for Greek as well.
Yeah. I think it was just more of our language is based on Latin. So it's just how it works.
But it's not. I mean, it's Germanic.
It's not. Yeah. Well, yeah. There's more loan words and whatnot. There's them Romans. They scattered that whole Latin all over the place. They shotgunned Latin all over the fucking continent.
Right, yeah. When Greek was a big deal, like the European people, like in the north, didn't necessarily have a lot of
Slavs.
As much of a contact as when the Romans came around. They spread farther, I guess.
Yeah, the Romans were around for longer.
Yeah, and wider.
Yes. The Gauls are ruining Latin.
Yes. You remember? I'm glad you remember that.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into Chuckmas, what are your plans for that other holiday that's coming up?
Other holiday?
Yeah, I think it's called like Christmas or something.
Fuck is that?
I don't know. Yule?
Yule. We've already passed Yule.
Yeah, I think so.
Yule already done. Speaking of Germanic,
Yule's the 21st. Yule is just the winter solstice, isn't it?
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Ding, ding, ding. I'm smart. It's smarty. So, no, for Friday, what we're going to do this year, I think our plan is we're going to eat no meals.
No meals.
We're going to eat 0 meals. Here's what we're going to do.
Okay.
What we're going to do. And this is my ideal anything, period.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start a food in the morning.
Going to start a food. It's not a meal.
A food.
It's a food.
A food. And it's going to consist of various things. And they're just going to be set out in various crocks and bowls with dishes set out.
And just whenever you want.
All goddamn day.
You just walk up and just eat your fill.
Oh, look, little smokies and barbecue sauce. I'll have a 4th helping of that. Yeah.
You know what? That sounds like a really fucking ingenious way of doing that.
Vegetables and dip? Yes, please. I'll have some more of that. Yes.
That sounds like a really ingenious way of getting that done, because it's like,
yeah.
You prepare everything right away. You get all the food out of the way. You don't have to interrupt anything later on in the day.
Now, something
that you're doing.
You have to bear in mind, you have to be smart about it. Some things can't sit all day. So if there's going to be a cheese involved, put out some of the cheese at first and only replace the cheese as
once
necessary.
It's been okay.
Once
all
it's
right.
been depleted.
So there's a little bit of upkeep to it, but it's
a small amount.
But you don't have to interrupt everything at 2 in the afternoon to start preparing the dinner you're eating at 5.
Right, and the chicken breast or the turkey breast has already been cooked and it's sitting out sliced. And if you want to fucking slice a turkey, you want to put it on some bread, you want to eat it with some gravy, you want to put some cranberry sauce on it, whatever you want, whenever you want, all day long until we go to bed and a drunken stupor.
There we go. That sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
I am going to my parents' place tomorrow night.
Okay.
And then I'm staying there for Christmas Day. And I think we're having most of the family over, and nobody outside the immediate family, but it's just me, my sisters, and their husbands, the kids, I imagine. So yeah, it's just going to be just a family Christmas. No aunts or uncles as far as I know. But we just needed to do something because it's just been so long since we've gotten to really gather, and we're doing better. We're still fucking bad in North Dakota.
Sure.
But we're doing
way better.
We're doing way better.
We've gone from number 1 to number 24.
Yeah, we're doing way better than we were a month ago.
Yeah.
So
all we did was fucking mask up.
That's all that changed.
Yeah.
The only fucking thing that changed is the governor got his head out of his ass and told everybody to wear fucking masks.
Right. And you know how much that affected people's businesses? Not at all.
Fuck all.
None.
That's all we needed to fucking do. And there's more that probably could be done or needs to be done. But like all that needed to be done for us to not be the worst in the fucking nation. It was for people to for everybody to get their heads out of their asses and put a mask on their face.
New Zealand people going to movies there.
Yeah.
Going to movies, going to bars, going dancing.
Australia, there was some confusion from American fans of Auntie Donna because they've done a bunch of like promos for their Netflix show where they've gone out and done like public stunts and like they're not wearing masks and people are like, why aren't you wearing masks? And they're like, Australia has had no COVID cases for a couple of months.
They locked down for 4 months, locked completely down. I mean,
it's like we've had no COVID cases for a while. So
their economy's coming back, and
we're not wearing masks. And anyway, let's get off the topic of the inescapable pandemic
and start talking about death.
The reason we're all here, our inevitable end, and also the band Death.
Yes.
So if you've never listened to the show before, this is a weird place for you to start. But we're glad to have you. We're glad to have you. But if this is your first Death Metal December, the way we always end the month is by talking about an album by the band Death. Or, I mean, technically next Wednesday is still December, so it depends if we want to start doing black metal or if we
do we black metal January already?
We
is it black metal January?
Yeah,
the plan. Okay, so we could still do a death metal December.
Yeah, next week we could still do a death metal album if you wanted to.
Okay. See, I haven't really landed on anything.
Yeah, I mean, we can figure it out.
Okay.
In any case, the way we always do the episode closest to the Christmas holiday, we change things up. We call it Chuckmas in celebration of Chuck Schuldiner, who is the songwriter, rhythm guitarist, and vocalist for the band Death. And really, its only constant member throughout its run. Through the late 80s and through the 90s, because really Death was Chuck's band. He was kind of a difficult personality to work with, as far as I understand.
As far as a friend goes, he was great.
But yeah, you don't want him to be your boss.
No, you want
to think.
No, you don't.
You want to hang out. You don't want him to be your bandmate because especially as of this album we're talking about. Right. This is when Chuck really had complete control of the project.
Sure.
Because this
was after the one after Spiritual Healing.
Yeah, Spiritual Healing was the last album where Death was a band.
That's where I came on board.
Yeah. Death was a band before then that had members other than Chuck that were permanent, theoretically. Theoretically,
yeah.
Because it was in 1990, there was a tour that was supposed to be going on in Europe that Chuck decided the band was not going to do right before the tour was supposed to start.
But they were contractually
obligated. So a couple of the other members of the band were like, well, we got to do this. So
they went without him.
They went without him and recruited 2 roadies to do vocals and guitar.
Sure.
And Chuck was very unhappy with that. But I mean, what the fuck were they supposed to do? They would have gotten sued otherwise. And so after that, Chuck basically decided, fuck the whole, traditional band thing. I'm hiring session musicians from now on. And whoever can play what I write is who's going to be in the band. Whoever I think is a good fit is who's going to be around. And
have you watched
Death by Metal? I've not yet.
You need to watch Death by Metal. I mean, they interviewed all the important people, all the pertinent people, and all the people they interviewed. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of people going, wow, this is exciting. There were some people going, this is exciting. When you get them talking about the band, they were like, I tried.
I really tried.
I really did. And when we all put everything together, when it came together, it was great. But God damn it. I mean, and we loved Charles Schuldiner. We
just couldn't stick with him.
It was hard. We went to his house, which was supposed to be on tour. His mom answered the door. And
he just seems like he was kind
difficult.
Of sort of a classic situation. Maybe the word genius is a little strong. But I mean, he's an amazing songwriter. Sure. But it's one of those situations. This was
unprecedented.
Yeah, like there was, arguably before Scream Bloody Gore, there was not a death metal album.
Right.
I mean, there's 7 Churches by Possessed, which some people claim
the first death
metal album. But a lot of people say like, that's kind of more of a transitional sort of album, whereas
it is. It's a proto-death.
Scream Bloody Gore you listen to and go, that's death metal. I mean, like a lot of the stuff that he was doing, people had never heard before. Sure. And by this album, this was really the first album where it's like, oh, what if we put a little bit of prog into our death? What if we made our death metal just
like Czechoslovakian?
Yeah. Yes. What if we put the city of Prague? What if we made death metal slightly progressive? This was kind of the first album, and that's sort of the direction that the band would take from then on. He was seemingly kind of a difficult person to work with. Didn't seem super fond of touring. Kind of almost like, I mean, a similar sort of ideal to like certain elements of the black metal community, where it's like, we don't give a shit about actually performing. We're just making the music and being mysterious.
Right. They talked about showing up at a concert at a venue where there were like 2 cars in the parking lot. They tell you about that?
No.
And then Chuck refused to go in, but like he's refusing. The rest of the band got to talking like, I mean, we got to do a show. They're paying us to do a show. So the rest of the band went in while Chuck sat in the fucking bus in the parking lot. The rest of them went in and did the show.
Oh, Chuck. But hey, he's a great vocalist, great songwriter.
Sure.
And rhythm guitarist. But yeah, it's seemingly just a difficult person to work with. But at least he was seemingly a pretty good person.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah, he wasn't
a bad guy.
He wasn't a bad guy. Right. I mean, we've made this comparison multiple times. You have difficult to work with, like why do I always forget his name when it comes time to recall it? From Megadeth.
Dave Mustaine?
Yeah, Dave Mustaine. I don't know why it seems to be a continuing problem with me. When I need to remember Dave Mustaine's name, I can't. But like there's Dave Mustaine difficult to work with, where it's because he's on heroin and he's just a massive asshole.
Well, now he's off of heroin. He's on Jesus. He's still a massive asshole.
Absolutely. And then there's Chuck Schuldiner, difficult to work with, where it's like, I'm really trying here, buddy, because I love you. But you're being difficult right now. Please stop.
Yeah, I want to know how Dave Ellefson has not done murder in the last 30 years.
Good.
35 years.
The right kind of drugs, maybe?
Maybe.
Weed? Who knows?
I don't know. I feel like the Pope needs to come down and find the bass player Dave Ellefson and say, look,
I'm bestowing sainthood upon you. You're not even dead. That's normally criteria for becoming a saint, is being dead.
We are going to skip a canonization. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make you a saint.
You realize the current Pope is from Argentina, right?
But it's very, very important that they sound like fucking Mario. It's me.
I'm trying to pour beer. Stop. Oh, gee.
I'm with the Pope.
Fuck.
You want to say now?
No.
Yeah.
Jesus. I'm just imagining Pope Francis talking like that. And it's ridiculous. I see Pope Francis is kind of similar in a way, mostly because I'm not Catholic.
Right.
Similar in a way to the Queen, mostly because I'm not English, in the sense that
Catholic, yeah.
There's probably, I have to have, but I don't have no idea what their voice sounds like.
Right.
Like when it comes to the Queen.
Hello.
I don't.
Here's the Queen.
I'm fairly certain I've never heard the Queen speak.
ARQ5174. I didn't know the alphabet. I'm the Queen.
I probably have heard her speak, but it's like for a long time, like I haven't really heard, like I never really heard her talk. And then when I did, it was just like, oh, she just sounds like an old English lady.
Sure.
She just sounds like a very proper old English lady.
She didn't used to. I mean, when I was a kid, she had brown hair yet. I mean, she was.
Yeah. The Queen was, I mean, I'm an American, so I feel no shame. The Queen was fucking hot.
She was, yeah.
The Queen was
Let's still throw it in there.
I mean, Philip doesn't have the energy anymore, so.
He's a stunt cock. But I mean, oh God, again, stop this now. What?
Prince Philip stunt cock. Motherfucker.
Sorry.
No, that's fucking funny. Oh, Jesus
Why do all
Christ.
these trees smell like cum?
That was Queen Victoria.
Yeah, that was Queen Victoria in that sketch.
In the Mitchell and Webb sketch. Fuck. Motherfucker.
All right.
I've been watching a lot of, maybe not even a lot of, I've been watching some 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown stuff.
Awesome.
Because that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I'm not a particularly big fan of British stand-up comedians.
Right.
But
there's some great ones.
There's some great ones. Yeah. And I feel kind of bad, but like the British panel shows where there are comedians just being funny. I think the British are I think they are better at being spontaneously funny and just saying funny things to each other
than just trying to be funny.
Yeah,
it seems forced sometimes when you see a British comedian on stage.
Yeah, that like their written material falls a little flat for me sometimes.
Right.
But like compared to like American comedians, but like when they're just all gathered together doing a show, it's it's sensational. It's incredibly hilarious.
I love to watch outtakes from, it's been on for the Mock the Week. You ever see Mock the Week?
I have not, but was Bill Bailey was a regular on that, right? Or was he the host?
No, Bill Bailey was on QI.
Okay,
he was on QI. I'm thinking it was Dara O'Brien was the host.
Okay,
of Mock the Week.
Okay, yeah. Now I know. I don't think I've seen an episode, but I'm aware of it in just the universe, the like Marvel MCU of British panel shows.
Right. And of course, they made a game out of it, kind of very loosely. I remember, the one that I remember for some reason, it just sticks in my head that comes to my mind every now and then, is they said, okay, this headline is from the London Times or whatever. And it says, it shows a man in a gurney with the sheet, mid chest. And it says, TFHS. And what is the actual headline? It's TFHS. And they just kept going around with, this fucker has cancer. And then it was, this fucker has something. And Dara O'Brien had just stopped the show. Let's see. TF is never going to be this fucker has.
It's never what it's going to be. All right, back on topic. I mean, this fucker has cancer is unfortunately true about Chuck Schuldiner. And Dave Mustaine.
Not anymore. Well, yeah. Well, Dave has it. Yeah, he's got.
I think is Dave officially in remission at this point?
He might be.
I haven't kept up on that. But no, technically Chuck doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah, Chuck is cancer free. Chuck is cancer free.
Technically speaking, God, that's awful though.
Yeah.
But so as far as like your experience with human, so you got on board with spiritual healing. Did you keep up with death throughout their career?
I kind of did. I didn't do a whole lot. I'm terrible because I was young and I had no attention span. I bought this album and I think for some reason I got this one and Individual Thought Patterns and I didn't get any after that for some crazy reason. Not till I didn't listen to it till later.
Yeah, for later in life, symbolic and Sound of Perseverance.
Right, because it's okay. This is weird. I love Steve DiGiorgio now, but hearing him play the fretless bass on a lot of stuff,
it sounded weird to you.
Sounded circus-like for some reason.
I think for everybody, because I went through a period like that too, where like there's a band called Obscura, named after the Gorguts album, where it's exclusively fretless bass,
right?
And I was not fond of the sound of the fretless bass at first. But like every time I've heard something since then, where I know it's fretless bass, it doesn't bother me anymore.
Right.
I've gotten used to it.
I was brought back into the fray by the obvious thing.
Oh, by Primus? Yeah, by Primus.
Like, okay, if that's what it can be.
All right. Well, let's give that a try. One thing I cannot stand with bass, though, which is something that I've seen at a couple of like deathcore shows, because the problem with deathcore is they tune so fucking low that the bass, if you're not careful and are not like getting really high gauge strings, sounds really clacky.
Right, it sounds
in
terrible.
Live shows. It sounds fucking awful.
Almost
because
atonal.
It's just clattering against the fretboard, and because the string is so loose, and the bass player, it's a live show. They're not, maybe taking paying the greatest attention to like the angle of their pick.
Sure.
And so instead of vibrating horizontal or parallel to the fret, it's a little bit off, and so it's slamming into the fretboard and making an awful racket, and it just sounds bad.
It slams both the pick and the string into the neck and the pickup itself.
Yeah, and it just that. God, that has bothered me at a couple of shows that I've been to.
Unless you have a good piece of transatlantic cable. As your top string there.
When you're tuning so low.
Right.
And also, at that point, you have to probably adjust it so the neck is at a slightly different angle.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's better. And you can buy this. If you want to tune that damn low, you can buy a bass that has extra long neck.
Yeah,
you can do that. That's actually a thing you can buy. It's weird and it's hard to play and it looks ridiculous. But if you're tuning down to,
deathcore bands already look ridiculous.
You already, just turn it, skid into the curve. I mean,
it seems to be a thing in deathcore and like technical death metal where everybody is playing like the guitar. They look cool. I shouldn't say they look ridiculous, but like the everybody is playing the weirdest fucking guitars. They're all they all have fanned frets.
Sure.
They don't all have fan frets. Scalloped frets and fanned frets. Where scalloped frets is when there's like a divot between the frets.
Right.
Fanned frets is when they are they're at a curve.
Right.
Each fret is curved.
Yep.
The curve gets wider the further down the neck you go. And the guitars look cool, but it seems to be a weird trend in tech death and deathcore where everybody's playing the weirdest fucking guitars possible. You see a lot of Strandberg guitars too. Do you know what a Strandberg guitar is?
I'm not sure what that is.
It has no headstock.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah.
That's silly.
That thing. But they look so cool. And some people really like the way they sound.
Okay. You see the headless.
Maybe cool's the wrong word. Neat.
I expect you to have dressed all in pastels and your bangs feathered. And there to be a guitar player standing next to you
if you're playing
a headless guitar.
I suppose.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. It's a weird thing. I think people are just kind of gear nuts and they're like, oh, this is weird. And they buy it because it's weird and unique. And then they're like, well, I got to justify having this. So I guess I'll play it for the band. Speaking of weird guitars, I mean, Chuck Schuldiner throughout, I think most famous for the BC Rich Warlock. Probably one of the
most metal guitars.
Yeah, probably it's the most metal guitar.
Sure.
At this point, other than maybe the Flying V. The Flying V, I think
that's a different kind of metal guitar.
It's a different kind of metal guitar, but I think it has a longer heritage.
Sure.
But the BC Rich, I think specifically for like death metal, has quite the reputation for the BC Rich Warlock. It's just a weird, evil looking guitar. Sure. It's so spiky.
Right, and I believe BC Rich was purchased by Washburn. So
my hometown.
It's purchased
a collective of people from my hometown in North Dakota.
So if you head down to your small town in North Dakota off a highway,
there's a guitar shop.
There's a guitar shop where you could buy a Warlock.
Yeah.
In Washburn.
Well, then apparently BC, if I remember reading correctly, BC Rich himself kind of created the Warlock by accident where he was just like, I was just kind of fucking around. Yeah. And then someone was like, whoa, that looks super cool.
And he's like, really?
You really? Okay, I guess I'll sell this to you if this is what you want. Like he was just like, I was just kind of playing around with some curves and stuff and created this very iconic guitar.
Honestly, if I ever started playing guitar again, which I haven't played in years, I have not picked up a guitar and strummed it in years.
You gotta.
I know. If I ever did, someday I want to own a Paul Reed Smith. But
I'm not sure I'm familiar.
It is not a metal guitar. It is not something you would associate with heavy metal. It's something you would associate with Santana.
Okay.
There's generally a whole lot of mother of pearl in there. It's one of those things you kind of almost you want to play, you really want to play, but you also really want to mount it on your wall.
It's like a Ferrari guitar.
It is a Ferrari guitar. It's heavy as shit. If you were in a concert and you're playing your guitar and somebody's heckling you, you could take it off your strap and bludgeon them to death easily. Jesus, and they're just fucking beautiful. Yeah.
These are beautiful guitars. See, I always think that way when I see semi-hollow body electric guitars. They're just gorgeous. They're pieces of art. And it's like, you almost don't want to play it. I remember there's but you do. Yeah. There's a Irish folk singer named Glenn Hansard.
Oh, sure.
And there's a live performance of him playing at NPR's All Songs Considered anniversary show. And he had one of his many incredibly beat up electric acoustics or whatever.
Yeah.
And he broke a couple of strings during one song, as he often does.
Yeah.
And
he plays hard.
He plays very hard. And he
makes such great music. But
and he didn't have a backup. And so one of the other bands handed in this beautiful semi-hollow. And he was just like, are you sure?
You saw
what I just did, didn't you?
Yeah, but he broke strings. Everybody breaks strings.
Yeah, it's true. But he broke strings because he was going fucking insane.
Sure.
He was beating the shit out of that guitar. His guitars characteristically develop a massive hole in the path of his down pick.
Like Trigger.
I'm unfamiliar.
Trigger, Willie Nelson's guitar.
Oh, yeah.
That he bought in 1969.
Yep.
And it looks like it's beat to hell, but it's because he's done that. Yeah.
I think Glenn Hansard has gone through quite a few guitars at this point, but his original one that he busked with, I think he gave to some museum when he started playing when he was like 13. He dropped out of, this has become a Glenn Hansard podcast all of a sudden, but he dropped out of school when he was 13.
Yeah.
He got permission from his principal to
drop out.
He was like, I feel like I want to drop out of school and play music. And his principal was like, okay.
Yeah. Normally I'd try to say no.
And he went to his mom and was like, it's okay. The principal says it was fine. And his mom was like, what? But he dropped out of school and started like busking and playing music, and it has continued till this day. I love that, man. If you've not seen the movie Once, there's a movie that came out in 2007 called Once that I think you can rent on Amazon. Glenn Hansard stars in it, and he plays a character very much inspired by himself. And it's a beautiful movie. The music is amazing. It won the Academy Award for Best Original Song that year. It's a wonderful movie. The camera work is a little but it was a very low budget movie, so it's kind of be expected. The focus is the music, and it's great. The focus of this episode was supposed to be death.
Dude, when are we ever fucking focused?
It's Chuckmas.
It is Chuckmas.
Our gift to ourselves is to talk about whatever we want.
I haven't had a drink for like 4 days. So this is good
beer.
Yeah, this is tasty. And I'm like, woo!
So we might as well chew through some of our criteria here. Okay. Does this slap?
Oh, God.
Dodoy.
Of course it does.
It slaps the fucking hell out of everything. I wrote down the personnel on this album, by the way. So we have, of course, Chuck Schuldiner, rhythm guitar, vocals, songwriting.
Steve DiGiorgio.
Steve DiGiorgio on bass. This was his first album with Death, and he would stick around for 2 more albums.
I think so.
For both Individual Thought Patterns and Symbolic, I think. I don't think Steve DiGiorgio was on the
last one.
The Sound of Perseverance. Right. Neither was Gene Hoglan.
Right. Was then we have Andy LaRocque? Was he either? No. It wasn't Andy yet. That's right.
We have Paul
Verhoeven.
Yeah, Paul Verhoeven, German director, German action movie director, Paul Verhoeven.
No.
Paul
Giamatti.
God damn it.
Oh, sorry.
Masvidal, I think is his name. He played lead guitar on this album, and Sean Reinert from drums. Both of those two were from the band Cynic.
Cynic actually has some really good music. I listen to some Cynic.
After reading about this album while I was prepping for this episode, I saw the name come up and I was like, I should check that out.
Yeah.
Do you know what kind of band they are?
They're definitely death metal.
Okay.
But it's like a hybrid death metal, like jazz.
Ooh.
It's death metal jazz kind of. I mean, because the drummer came up as a jazz drummer.
That sounds weird. I'm into it.
Jazz death metal is what it is.
Hell yeah. I'm very into that idea.
Yeah, give that a spin.
God damn, that's exactly my type of shit.
Yeah.
My type of fucking weird ass shit that I like. I'm very into that idea. So I rummaged around to find reviews of this. Score came out to 85. I think it deserves more than that.
Yeah, this is a very good album. This is very good.
This is an exception. 85 is a good score.
Sure.
85 is a pretty good score, especially considering it's from, how many different publications.
I feel like if everybody who's listening to this, if a death metal fan or a death fan or a metal fan is listening to this, it's going to get higher than 85.
Yeah.
But this is a general blanket across the board.
Yeah.
Guys at Spin Magazine giving it a fucking listen.
Well, and I think I think their opinions are important.
They
because people can kind of get into a bit of a circle jerk about an album.
Exactly.
And it's like, you can feel like the odd man out when you're the only person going, I don't think this is actually that good.
Sure.
And it can be nice to have something out there that agrees with you. Although the sort of herd mentality or groupthink sort of thing maybe isn't all that great. But,
you know, and the fact that it got an 85 and it was reviewed on so many different types of publications really speaks a lot about this. I mean, you know, from those other, I don't know, I've never heard of death metal before. What the hell is this? I mean, this is actually really interesting for what it is. And then they gave it a good score. I think an 85 is really good. Because as widely as it was critiqued.
I've been very gassy today. I just let out a
bunch of farts.
I just fucking ripped one, man.
I don't care.
I don't know what it is. In the evening, I've been very gassy.
You know, the first like how many weeks I came to your apartment, I'm like, I farted here a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember
that's what happens.
You got mad at me at one point, I think.
Well, I think there was one point you let out an extremely nasty fart.
Oh, it was terrible. Yeah. Yeah. And it was just as I was about to leave.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta go. Bye. He's like, fucking smells like fart in here now. Like,
disgusting.
I know, that's why I'm leaving. I get out of here. It stinks in here.
There's a difference between letting out a few farts and letting out just the nastiest rot gut fart possible.
That was me at the station today, by the way. I had to open the Zoo studio window and there was nobody there. I'm like, just in case a human being comes into this building.
Well, also, it feels a little weird to just be sitting there smelling your own farts for however long.
Your own stink.
That feels a little weird.
It does.
There have been times in the Geo studio where I have opened the window
of course,
because I've been farting so much.
Yeah. I've had to yell at Quinn. I've been sitting there in the studio and Quinn's coming in to ask me a question. Hey, man, I got a question for you. I'm like, you saw the window was open, right?
You know what's happening.
You know, I mean, don't squint your eyes and scrunch your nose.
Don't give me any shit. You know what you were in for.
I didn't invite you in here.
So what's your favorite song on this album?
The song I associate with this is a Suicide Machine.
Okay,
it's that, or
I think it's a very iconic song.
Lack of Comprehension is the other song. Because they actually start in the beginning of it to go into where you can feel where Chuck kind of wants to go.
Yeah.
At the beginning of that song.
Well, I think Cosmic Sea is also a pretty big indication of like, I wrote down some notes here. Yeah. Cosmic Sea to me feels like
that's the instrumental.
Yeah. It feels to me like the song the guys from Blood Incantation listened to and went, this is going to be our whole thing. This is going to be our whole deal.
Sure.
Is shit like this. Is Cosmic Sea by Death.
That's a fantastic song.
And it's like so kind of out of place,
right?
If you're just listening to Death chronologically at this point, like Scream Bloody Gore, Leprosy into Spiritual Healing, and then you hit Cosmic Sea and you're like, this is weird. Yeah. This is like all spacey and atmospheric. What is this?
This is like that moment you were in your early 20s and you finally saw your Uncle Earl wearing a dress.
And you realized there was more to him than you thought.
No, I feel like I maybe could have saw this coming, but no. Okay, all right.
No, this is fine.
This is fine.
I'm okay with this. But Cosmic Sea is I think definitely like that was Chuck flexing the hardest as far as like, I like prog. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I wrote down As One as my favorite song.
Great song.
I just cannot get over that opening riff. And they do what I will call in this instance, the Mastodon thing.
Sure.
With the, where it's like, this is the best riff in the song. We're going to play it. And then after a couple of bars, we're going to play it slightly higher.
Which was a Dredge Can song.
Slightly higher.
Yeah.
There was this Dredge Can song called Slightly Higher.
Yeah, there was.
What perchance mayhaps was that about?
It was sort of a hybrid of ideas. It had to do with taking your mental state and cerebrally to via trying to think to actually using flexing the mind to think of something, also drugs. But but it was a combination of the two ideas
from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to see, like, because you did some recordings as Dredge Can, right?
Yeah, we did one live album.
I feel like
where I broke my guitar, didn't have
somebody needs to find a way to put it's on is it on the internet somewhere?
I'm sure it is.
Because like someone needs to find a way to put that.
Looking back on it, it's a thing I recorded when I was 20 years old, and with my best friends at the time, and they did great, and we played fine, and we only had 10 hours to do it because I only had like $1,100.
Yeah.
So we did it. And the guy at the end of it, he says, "Is this what you want?" I'm like, does that matter? Is it better what we want? Because we're done.
Is it on tape?
Yeah. And he had to burn us a CD. Well, that's an extra $80 to burn you a compact disc.
Wow.
Because no, who had a machine that would do that? Nobody had a machine.
And what year was this?
1994.
I feel like that shouldn't have been, because I mean, $80 in 94 is not that much.
It was pretty
more,
fucking expensive.
But yeah, that's still a lot to just burn a CD.
I didn't realize that a person could own a device to burn a CD. I thought that was only something that could be done in the factories. Yeah.
Wow. $80 to burn a CD. That's fucking ludicrous.
So I had to pay him extra bucks to get extra copies of the album. And the more I listened to it, I'm like, yeah, you know, and people used to get pissed at me too because, well, here's the album. I'm enjoying this, and then I'd explain why it sucked while I was playing.
I mean, I feel
like stop doing that. I want to listen to this.
I feel like though there's a certain kind of creative person, and I think it's most creative people, where if you try to earnestly have a conversation with them about something that they have made, they will be nothing but incredibly self-critical about it.
But that's me. That's me every time.
And that's me as well, where like I haven't done anything all that like publicly creative, but like as far as like say D&D shit.
Sure.
You know, when I've been DMing D&D and people, you know, players are like, wow, that was really cool. That was really nice. I was like, yeah, well, I had all this problems trying to write that shit. And then you guys fucking decided to do this. And like, I'm just like, I'm really hard on myself when it comes to stuff. Fuck you. When it comes to stuff that I've actually put something of myself into,
you're very critical.
I'm very self-critical.
Okay.
If it's just something I cranked out, I don't give a shit.
Let me explain something to you here. On my car radio, there are no radio stations programmed.
Same. I
cannot listen to myself on the radio.
I do.
I can't.
I will, and I have on several occasions. It's not something I do on my own, but if I'm in someone else's car, and I know I'm on the air, I'm like, can we just check on this and see? And like I usually it's to get input.
Sure.
Like when I was in college and working part-time, if I was driving around, I would have my roommate like tune in when we were driving around at night and ask him what he thought. And he would give me some ideas, some thoughts. Yeah, that was it. No,
of course
Leaf was not that mean to me.
No, he was not.
How do you know? You don't know.
He lived with you.
You're just saying shit. I mean, I feel like you've lived with some people that maybe,
dude. Did I sent you a message about this week?
Yeah,
I did. I for some reason something jogged my mind about the fact that there existed a slog of Christian thrash metal back in the 80s and 90s, and there's something that. What the fuck was that band? The biggest band in Christian thrash metal, Vengeance Rising. Was the name of the band, Vengeance Rising. I'm like,
which I feel like is a weird name for a Christian thrash metal, considering the whole turn the other cheek shit.
And in retrospect, and in fact, at the time, a lot of people were like, I feel there's something here. Yeah, we're Christian, and it was very violent and angry. You could see. I mean,
it's Christian but Old Testament.
It was very old. Yes. Yeah, remember? Yeah, a fundamentalist thrash metal only listens to Old Testament.
The fucking fundies.
Yeah. But they had the picture of a hand with a spike through it on a piece of wood.
Yeah.
And it's all very, very violent.
It's like Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, only scarier. And
scarier than Passion of the Christ.
And now I
Passion of the Christ is a fucking terrifying movie.
They call it Smash into the Christ. I know. But I went back and I watched one of their music videos for one of their popular songs, and I'm like, this is terrible. It was actually really bad music.
But you realized.
Yeah. I realized, because I was looking it up. I looked at the Wikipedia page and see, the thing. And I realized that my friend, a guy who used to live with me, was their drummer for a moment.
For a moment. How long is a moment in this sense?
I don't know. Never actually recorded anything with him. He went in and he was hired as the drummer, and it was for a while, and they got together and it did the session, and nothing ever came of it. And then and it was funny. He's like, "Is this the same guy?" And then I read the quote from him, like, "Oh yeah, we did this," and I can't remember what it all said, but like, this is totally
is the same guy.
This is my friend. This is my.
Was your friend a drummer?
He is a drummer. He's a drummer in a thrash metal band in Las Vegas right now.
Oh wow!
And he's amazing as a person.
My response to you was, it's a small world.
Yeah, kind of.
I think metal, especially in metal and in that era, during that time period, it was a smaller world than a lot of people necessarily think. I think like metal is very saturated at this point in time.
But at the time,
I think before the advent of cheap digital recording that
the internet,
you can do like that, especially cheap digital recording that you can do at home.
Right.
Before then, metal was far less saturated, but like since 2005, there's just an explosion. There's so much metal out there that it's
and it was probably out there anyway in garages. It just wasn't recorded.
Yeah, there was you couldn't access it like from anywhere.
When Shannon and I we lived together, it was he showed me a video that he had on a VHS of this band he really liked, where his drummer was his best friend at the time in LA, and they were playing. It was a video of them playing in this abandoned warehouse with like nobody else there. And he said, "These guys are gonna go somewhere." I'm like, "Really?" He says, "Yeah. I mean, they have kind of an industrial thing I don't care for, but I really think Fear Factory is gonna be somebody." All right. Well,
I was waiting for it.
You're waiting for it to be somebody you've heard of. Yeah. And that's how it was. But yeah, Vengeance Rising.
Christian thrash metal
and the singer, who was like the main guy, like a year after their second album, was like, "I'm an atheist, fuck you, God." Yeah,
I quit,
and then he tried to do the Vengeance Rising thing again, only but like a blasphemous sort of version, and it was very controversial and strange.
That just reminds me a little bit of Tim Lambesis, the vocalist of As I Lay Dying,
right.
Which I don't know if he actually describes himself as atheist, but after he got out of prison, he basically said, like, I haven't really been a Christian for a while. And, that might be connected to the whole thing of him trying to have his wife murdered by a hitman who was an undercover police officer.
That's I
think people are forgetting about that these days. I don't think people are actually forgetting about that these days. Every single time Tim Lambesis comes up anywhere, people are like,
"Oh, you mean the guy that tried to have his wife murdered?"
Yeah.
Was he in a band?
Yeah. I think they have a new album. I think As I Lay Down kind of got back together.
Nice.
But I was never really all that. I never got into them really. Like I've heard some of their songs, but anyway, we've gone very long.
We've gone far afield, yeah.
We've gone far afield tonight. What metal are you bestowing?
Gold.
It's Chuckmas. Who gives a shit?
Gold, frankincense, and fucking myrrh. This goddamn album gets.
Oh. Fucking yes. 100% agree. Yeah, gold, frankincense, myrrh, platinum.
Sure.
Fucking unobtainium. Who gives a shit? It's Chuckmas.
Yeah.
Merry Chuckmas. Mithril.
Mithril.
Yeah. Merry Chuckmas, you filthy animal. Oh, I wrote down a note that I want to mention before we.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, I already talked about that. I was about how this was the first album with session musicians.
Sure. Already been there, dude.
Yeah, we already been there. We're good. So thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like more episodes, check us out on Facebook.
You do another episode next week too.
Yeah, we could continue Death Metal December if we want. We could talk about another album next week if you come up with something. Do you have something?
I do.
Okay.
What should I do? It is December. You should do a Dismember to remember.
Dismember to remember.
Mm-hmm. Like an ever-flowing stream. Forgot what a great album that is.
Okay, so I need some context. Dismember to remember.
No, Dismember is the name of the band.
Dismember. Okay. Okay. All right.
Dismember is the name of the band. The album is Like an Ever-Flowing Stream.
Like an Ever-Flowing Stream by Dismember. Of course, Dismember would be a death metal band.
They are.
Okay. You might want to text that to me at some point here soon, so I can remember it.
Oh, have you had 3? No, you've had 2 beers.
I've had 2 beers, but I'm feeling a little overcome at the moment with alcohol.
Oh, really? Did you drink before I got here?
No. I did not. I haven't.
How strong are these motherfuckers?
No, they're not. I don't think they're that strong. I just haven't. I haven't had any
drinks in a week. I haven't 4 days. I mean,
I haven't ate since.
I didn't eat either.
Yeah, but
my wife put. I'm gonna have a ham, scalloped potatoes. I'm like, yay, sounds great. And she put it in. It's like, it's gonna be done in 2 hours. We're like, no, I'll be at Kale's.
Yeah, no, like I've
podcast? Oh shit.
I feel like. Since I quit drinking, I didn't quit drinking. Since I slowed down on like the hard liquor, my tolerance has kind of gone to shit. Even though I've been drinking beer pretty regularly, I have a 24 pack of Shinerbach in the fridge.
There's not a lot of booze in Shinerbach.
Not a lot, but it's heavier than fucking Miller Lite.
Barely,
yeah.
Not a lot. It's
okay. It tastes better than fucking Coors Banquet.
You are not wrong about that. I mean, Coors Banquet is excellent in its inoffensiveness. It's one of those things that tastes really great to drink because
it's not fucking Busch Light.
Yeah, Busch Light has sort of a diesel flavor to it.
Yeah. In any sense, I think we were talking something about Twitter. We're on
Dismember next week.
We're on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever it goes by these days, and we're also on Libsyn or the Podcast Source, which is Libsyn's mobile app. If you are on Android, check that out. Till the next time. We are in your ear holes. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Bronze Metalist
Merry
Podcast.
Chuckmas.
Merry Chuckmas, everyone.
Congratulations.